Thanks, Caitlin. So, we're getting very close to the election now, and it's still so close. Despite an early boost in the polls, Kamala seems to be lagging slightly. As you can see here, she is slightly ahead in the national poll. But, like I said in the very first week, the popular vote essentially does not matter. It's the Electoral College we need to watch out for. At the moment, Trump is ahead in Georgia, Nevada, and North Carolina. Kamala has the slimmest lead in Wisconsin, is tied in Pennsylvania, and is even slightly behind in Michigan, according to some polls. If Trump wins either Michigan, Pennsylvania, or Wisconsin, then he wins the election. So as I promised last week, I'll give a quick overview of North Carolina, but before I do, in the spirit of the episode, I'd like to give an overview of law and lawlessness. So, the public perception on how a president deals with law is really vital in terms of their election pitch. People want to feel safe. They want a president who they can trust to protect them. That's why we have a really interesting election here, because on the one side, you have Trump, who's being convicted of felonies, but also has a strong, tough-talking public persona that might make some gravitate towards him for dealing with dangerous people. And on the other hand, we have Kamala, a trained lawyer who is the Attorney General of California, who is a woman. And the public perception of women, as we know, tends towards the strictly misogynistic, that they're weak, easily influenced. And despite their records, both Trump and Kamala have to prove themselves to be the opposite of what they have shown in the past. So what do the public think of them on crime and policing? Here's a poll first that I showed you week 1, I think, and it shows Trump is ahead ever so slightly on crime, perhaps due to what I explained. So here we've got dealing with crime and violence, 41 to 47. So that's only a very slight advantage. However, there's a slightly more recent poll on the other side showing Kamala has pulled ahead on the issue. So here we've got policing crime, we've got 43 to 40. So again, a tiny, tiny margin. Could she be doing better? This ought to have been an open goal for her, but this issue has not been an open goal for her, which could be concerning for her campaign. So very quickly, what are some of their plans? Now, I don't have time to go through all of them, but I'd just like to point out the areas we're in. So, Kamala came under fire from the left when she originally ran to be the presidential candidate before 2020. There were rumours, eventually proven to have been exaggerated, that her term had unfairly imprisoned a number of men when she was the Attorney General of California, particularly African Americans, for non-violent drug offences. Whatever the truth was, she has been attempting to cleanse this idea in the public record. She has announced she will decriminalise weed and has an interest in reducing overcrowding in prisons, perhaps being more lenient on these non-violent offenders, but we'll have to see. On the other side, Trump is coming down very hard. He has consistently linked lawlessness to alleged illegal immigration. He plans mass deportations and has even suggested at one point the death penalty for drug dealers, although that has not been an official part of his campaign. So only time will tell how both of these affect the vote. We aren't sure now what people's perceptions of those will be, but very soon we will find out. So really quickly, I'd like to reel through some quick things to look out for in North Carolina, because I didn't get the chance to cover that last week. So North Carolina is really important for Trump. It has been leaning his way fairly steadily now for a while, as we can see in this next slide. I've got a poll here, 538 poll. It is Southern, it's conservative, so it seems like a safe bet, except that it has such a small margin. If we look a bit closer here, 48.3 to 47.3, that is just literally 1 percentage point that could be the difference between winning or losing North Carolina for Trump. And there are 2 things I'll run through that might affect this election either way. The first is the storms. So 2 devastating hurricanes have recently hit America, leaving carnage and missing people in North Carolina. Will the government assistance convince the people of the Biden-Harris administration? Or will more people turn back to the kind of populism that Trump offers? We'll have to see. These areas that have been really badly hit tend to be more rural, They might have voted for Trump initially. Will they turn away now? It's impossible to say so far, but we will see because voting has now opened, early voting in North Carolina. And finally, we have Mark Robinson. He is the Republican candidate for governor in the region, and due to a very interesting journalistic investigation, he was linked to a right-wing pornography site. The commenter, who was allegedly Robinson, called himself Black Hitler, amongst other things. This has not been popular with the public, suffice to say. He has denied that it was him and says he still wants to run. But having been so close to Trump before this scandal and openly supported by him at rallies, there is a chance this could affect Trump's polling. The job of the Democrats is to link Robinson to Trump in this region. So we'll have to wait and see. Yet again, I keep saying that, but we don't know how these things are going to play out. I can only suggest things that might have an impact. I'm going to try over the next 2 weeks to cover the rest of the swing states before the election. So I'll see you next week, and back to you, Caitlin and Ben.